Paranormal evidence.
Tonight, see what truly exists inside the world of the paranormal. Inside. Join the discussion and review some of the best paranormal evidence captures from a wide variety of experienced and up-and-coming investigators. See and hear what they capture, where they captured it, and how they captured it. Right now on Entity Voices.
Paranormal evidence.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to Entity Voices Paranormal Evidence. I am Chris Allgood.
I am Audrey Keeler.
I am Tony Rathman.
I am Cherie Rathman.
I am Lourdes Gonzalez.
And I am going to slow it down even more than she just did. I am Ron Jacovetti.
What's wrong? What's wrong, Loki?
What do you mean?
Because you slowed down the intro.
Oh, yeah. I'm sorry. I am slow today.
We're still recovering from the weekend, which was fantastic.
Oh, my God. I'm
you guys were busy. Yeah.
Busy.
Yep.
Paranormal crazy.
Yep.
No.
Hence the hat.
Right.
I knew I was forgetting something.
Yeah, I didn't do my hair either.
What's your EVPI hat?
I don't know. I don't know where anything is anymore.
But
Loki
we're excited
and Chris are the only one loyal.
Well,
to the hats.
to the hats, because wait, get rid of
Oh,
the
I can see it.
Get
Oh,
rid of it.
there he is.
Audrey's got her EVPI shirt on.
somewhere in here.
I'd move the camera down, but people wouldn't focus on the show.
Calm down.
Speaking of the show,
Entity
So
Voices.
the real reason
the
you're
real
here.
reason you're here is
Right,
we have
Cherie?
Bruce Halliday tonight. He's one of the original individuals who created and developed the ghost box communication research, and he's responsible for many of the working theories and protocols in the field of ghost box communication. Everybody, welcome Bruce.
Woo! Bruce in the house.
Bruce in the house.
Welcome, Bruce.
Great to be here, guys. Great to be here.
Welcome.
Bruce Halliday, hi.
Hi, Sherry. How are you?
I'm good. I put in the calendar your name, Bruce Willis. And I'm like, I can't remember his last name.
Bruce Willis.
I was like,
I'm
who
just
is
glad she
this?
didn't do it around Christmas time because Die Hard is not a Christmas movie. All right, Bruce, tell us what got you interested in the paranormal.
Oh, that's a good question, man. There's two answers to that question. What got me interested in the paranormal to become a researcher and an investigator and dedicate my time to working in the paranormal is one story. And my first paranormal experience that actually, brought me to the realization that there was things other than what we can hear, see, and smell and touch here in the physical. When I was a kid, I was about maybe 8 or 9 years old, and I come from an Italian immigrant family. My grandmother didn't speak any English, and we lived in I'm from Brooklyn, and we lived in a 6-family apartment house. Like my grandfather bought the house when he came from Italy, and it was all family. It was cousins, uncles, and there was 6 apartments, cold water flats, railroad rooms. And my grandmother lived on the 2nd floor. And doors were always open, the hallway doors out to the street, everything was always open. Everybody came and went, And I was playing in the hallway one day, and I started to go up the stairs to my grandmother's apartment. And there was an old man at the top of the stairs with a little white dog, right? And as I was going up the stairs, I guess as a kid, I really didn't realize, I didn't pay much attention to him because I was like sort of playing and running up and down the stairs and everything. But I passed him on the staircase. I was going up, he was coming down. And when I got to the top of the stairs, I realized I wanted to play with the dog. So I turned around and neither him or the dog was there. Wow. So I went into my grandmother's, and I just told her what happened. I says, there was a man in the hall with a little dog. I wanted to play with the dog. Do you know if he's coming back or that? So she said, who was, what man? There was no, I didn't see any man in the hallway or whatever. So I said, and she's speaking Italian. I'm speaking Italian as a little kid, and it translates different. But I said to her, she says, what did he look like? So I explained to her what he looked like. And it turned out that she said that the man's name was Mr. Giuseppe, and that he was the gentleman that my grandfather bought the house from in 1902. And he was like 85 years old at that point, and he was dead about 35, 40 years, at this point. Right. So, and she said he always sat in front of the house with a little white dog. Wow. He owned the property. So, I never saw it again, never saw him again, never, and years went by. I never got it. I never, experienced anything paranormal or been attributed to the paranormal. You know what I mean? As, as time went on, I grew up, I went to high school, I went in the military, I came home, got married, got a job, the whole 9 yards. And, I wasn't tuned into recognizing anything that might be associated with the paranormal. Right. So one day I'm sitting home and I'm flicking around, on cable, and I happen to land on a movie called White Noise.
Yeah. I was just thinking about that movie today. That's weird.
So I watched the movie, and at the end of the movie, I don't know if you remember, at the end of the movie, two people come on after the credits. And it's the people, I guess, that wrote the movie or whatever. And they tell you how you can do EVPs very simply by getting a recorder and just setting it up in a room and letting it run, And at that time, there was no digital recorders, it was just, cassette recorders. So I got myself a cassette recorder, and I said, I got to try this. I got, the movie intrigued me. So I said, I'm going to try this. I had a cassette recorder. So I was going to pick my wife up from work. So I turned the cassette recorder on. I put it in my bedroom, and I shut the bedroom door, and I left. I went to pick up my wife, let the recorder run. When I came back, I shut the recorder off, and I didn't pay attention to it for a couple of days. Like I had other things to do. You know what I mean? Like I had stuff to take care of, whatever, around the house and everything. So when I finally remembered, I had a few minutes, I said, let me listen to this tape. So I sat down at the kitchen table and I put it on, and of course the first half hour was nothing but white noise, nothing but static. And then all of a sudden, out of nowhere, all right, we're all familiar with traditional EVP. It's not the most conducive to hearing clearly straight from the recorder, but this was amazing. It came out and a voice said, does he want this open? And I attributed that to, first of all, when I got back in the house from outside, because I got up and ran out the door, and when I came back in, I started to think about, well, what could that have meant? What could they be referring to? And it was the bedroom door. Because I always made it a point that no doors in my house ought to be closed. You know what I mean? Unless something extraordinary is going on. Like my daughter knew she wasn't to have her bedroom door closed or locked, and we weren't in the habit of, unless something was going on that we didn't want my daughter to see, we didn't close the doors in the house. You know what I mean? So, I'm assuming that's what they were referring to. And I kept that EVP, that first EVP, I kept that for years and years and years, up until and about 5 years ago, my computer crashed. The whole hard drive crashed. There was nothing recoverable. I lost years and years of work, and that first EVP happened to be, and I always say to myself, gee, I wish I could hear that one more time, But that's what started me on my path into paranormal investigation and research. I started a little paranormal investigating team in southern New Jersey. We had moved from Brooklyn to New Jersey, and I started a little team there, and we used to do like home investigations, cemeteries, because back in the day there was no, it was in its infancy. Ghost hunting and everything was in its infancy. Nobody knew about it. Nobody was, you didn't even know what to do. You know, we didn't even know what to do. We got ourselves like an EMF detector and a flashlight and a camera and a temperature gun, and we went out doing investigations. So I got a little bored with that really quick with the investigation end. So I decided that I was going to dedicate myself to research. I wanted to find out, the how, when, where, why. Let the other guys go out and sit all night in a damp, dark building somewhere or in a cemetery. I'll be the guy that goes over, that figures out whatever they got. You know what I mean? So I started to do EVP on a big scale. Like, it was every day. I would do hours of EVP. I would do hours of review. And I started to do, I started to concentrate solely on traditional EVP, and I did that for years. And I dabbled in visual ITC. I used to do the video feedback loops, and I used to do water ITC, and I actually, it's funny because in my house in New Jersey, the front door had a crystal window in it. And about 3 p.m, the sun used to just hit the right spot, and it would shine through that crystal window, and it would make an impression, like a shadow on the living room wall. And I guess as the sun moved and as, would hit that crystal, and the reflection would change, And one day I noticed, I said, that looks like a face in there, So I went and I jumped, I got the digital camera, I ran over, I took like 10 pictures of this, sunlight shining on the wall. And sure enough, there was a face in there, and I said, I gotta pursue this, So every day at that time, I would be ready with the camera and start taking pictures. And I actually coined it visual projection imaging, because it was, the sun it was like a projector. It was like something being projected to, because what I eventually figured out was the entity would form the image inside the crystal of the window. The sunlight acted like a bulb in a projector. It would shine through the crystal and place that image on the wall, So I did this for a long time. It wasn't my main focus. Like EVP was still my main focus, but I did that for a long time, and I lost all of those images with the computer. Yeah, knucklehead. Don't back it up. Don't back anything up. Don't store anything on an external hard drive or anything. Yeah, the computer will be all right. So that's what happened. So anyway, I get an email from somebody, right? And they say to me, "Listen, we know that you're into ITC, you're into EVP. Have you ever heard of a ghost box?" So my first reaction was, never heard of it. I mean, Frank had just created the first ghost box, maybe 6 months before that, So I said, nah, I never heard of it. What is it? So they briefly explained, and this is going back and forth in emails because there was no, Facebook Messenger or anything like that at the time. And they explained to me what it was. I said, impossible. How's that going to work? It's a stupid idea. Forget it. Just forget it. Because now you got to remember, I was traditionally based in EVP. So to me, anything outside that parameter was not, it wasn't going to work. You know what I mean? It was a ludicrous idea. It wasn't going to work. So the person, okay, thanks a lot, and they went on their way. A couple of weeks later, I get another email from the person, and they said, listen, there's a Yahoo group. This guy, Frank Sumption, that created the ghost box, created the first ghost box, he's got a Yahoo group. Why don't you go over there and check it out? Maybe you could see what's going on over there. Maybe you'll understand it better than I do. So I go over, I join the Yahoo group. And at that time, there was no audio, no video, no nothing. It was just, typing messages back and forth or posting messages. And I read everything. I read the board every day. I looked into it, and it started to intrigue me a little bit. So there was a moderator. I forget her name. Debbie, I think her name was, back in the day. And she, I said to her, where can I get a ghost box? And she said, you can't. So I said, okay, you know. So I said, well, what are we supposed to do? I said, all these people belong to this group. Nobody has any ghost boxes. How are you supposed to contribute? How are you supposed to learn? You know, how can we practice this craft? You know, so she says, well, do you have a regular radio in your house with a dial on it? So I said, yeah, I do. So she said, all right, just go turn the radio on. She said, turn on a recorder. She said, start to spin the dial back and forth along the radio band and ask your questions. Same premise as a ghost box. You're doing it manually instead of the box doing it automatically.
And nobody ever thought that paranormal investigating would cause carpal tunnel.
Exactly, bro. Let me tell you something. You're not far off the mark because I'm telling you, my hands used to cramp after a while. Because I did this for hours and hours. Anyway, I go and get the radio. I go in a room all by myself, put the radio on the table, turn the recorder on, turn the radio on, start sweeping the dial manually. And I said, is there anybody out there that wants to communicate today? Didn't hear anything but radio sweep, you know. So I asked a couple more very rudimentary questions that only entailed yes or no answers, and didn't hear anything. Of course, the first time I'm ever doing it, I probably wouldn't have heard it. Even if it was there, I didn't hear it. You know what I mean?
Right.
So yeah. I'm starting to get a little annoyed with this, and I said, I knew, you know, in the back of my head, I knew this wasn't going to work. You know what I mean? And as I'm turning the dial for the last time, clear as a bell, out loud, hey, Bruce.
Oh.
Now, at this point, I had been in the paranormal for about maybe 5 years. And I mean, you know, I considered myself pretty knowledgeable and with a working knowledge of the paranormal and how things, you know, what the theories are and how, you know, what we expect to happen, what we think is happening and so on and so forth. And this really threw me for a loop because I didn't expect to hear it. And to hear them address me, you know, okay, you could say, all right, well, you know what, manual sweep, it's erratic. Sometimes you're slow, sometimes you're not. You know, you could get a false positive coming through their radio signal. Maybe they mentioned your name. But after it was over, I sat and I thought to myself, I said, what are the odds of me hearing my name coming at that specific second in time, my name, and addressed, hey, like they were addressing me as a greeting or addressing me directly. It was addressing me directly. What are the chances of a hey, Bruce, escaping that manual sweep? Nah, they're astronomical. You couldn't even figure out the odds. You couldn't figure
Timing and relevance. That's what we say all the time. That's what
Right.
determines whether you've got a proper response is the timing, how long did it take, and how
Right.
relevant was it to the situation or the question.
Exactly. And I stress that to whomever, you know, whoever asked me about, you know, new people. I get a lot of messages and a lot of emails and a lot of stuff from new people that are just dipping their toes into the pond, like into ITC and into ghost box communication, and they always ask, you know, how will I know whether it's radio signal? Matter of fact, I wrote a whole article on it and posted it on Facebook. You know, there's ways to tell, but you got to be, you know, the way for you to tell during a live session that you're operating, it's you have to be experienced. You have to know what you're listening for. You have to know what ghost box communication sounds like,
Right.
and why it sounds the way it does for you to immediately recognize it as not stray radio signal. So,
Yep.
So are all your clips the ITC then?
I'm
Are all
sorry,
your clips the ITC?
all my video, what I post online?
No,
Yeah.
what you sent with us today.
Oh yes, yeah, that's all ghost box communication.
Okay.
I don't do anything else. I haven't done anything else for about 15 years now.
Oh, all right.
My whole focus has been on ghost box communication and, you know, learning why and you know, coming up with the theories and the protocols of, you know, how are we getting what we're getting? How could we get it? How could we do it better to get better communication? You know, why are we hearing what we're hearing? How are they communicating? what are the basics of, what's the foundation of live spirit ghost box communication that allows us to hear it and allows them to send it. All these, and that's all I focused on for the last 15 years. I haven't been on an investigation. I haven't done any traditional EVP. I haven't done it. I do very little. I dabble, just out of boredom once in a while with visual ITC now. I came up with a method of actually taking spirit images with vape smoke.
Huh.
So,
Wow.
Yeah, Bruce. One of the things I wanted to point out, which is an important when you talk about advising people who want to do this, and maybe their toe is just into the pond. Something you said should jump out at them, and if it doesn't, then let's throw it out to them. And that specific thing I'm talking about is you heard about this method, which now you're telling us you spent 15 years doing exclusively. But when you heard about it, you were skeptical. You didn't buy into it. But you know what you did? Unlike dogmatic science, you tried it. You experimented with it. You stuck with it. And then you figured out that it did or didn't work on your own. You didn't just shut it down. That's an important lesson of what's called open-mindedness when something new comes your way.
Exactly. Yeah. And, there's a lot of people out there, Ron, that they just won't apply that open-mindedness. They just won't, you know how many naysayers I run into? I had a guy actually private message me the other day and said, I'm an agnostic. He said, I don't believe anything that you're doing. I don't believe anything that you say. He said, I think that you make up all of those video clips that you post. There is nothing paranormal. There is no such thing as spirits, this, that, So, with somebody like that years ago, I would have got into a very heated back and forth thing with someone like that, because the hair on the back of my neck stands up when somebody approaches me like that. Now, what I write back is short and sweet. Every American is entitled to an opinion. Every human being is entitled to an opinion, and I would fight and die for your right to give one. And that's it. Yeah. That's how I answer them.
Because, and see you in church on Sunday when you're praying to the Holy Spirit.
Right.
Exactly.
Yeah, which often is the case. That's true.
Exactly. Well, I don't know about you guys, but I'm ready to take a look. I'm ready to take a listen to one of his clips. What do you think?
Yeah. How about the first one? Go ahead, Ron.
Let me know which one you got, and I'll set it up. I'll give you a little background on it. Which one you're going to play?
We're going to start with one. Since you talked about one calling out your name, the first one I'm going to hit you with is Bruce Allen Halliday. You're great.
Oh yeah, yeah.
And that wasn't me complimenting Bruce. That's his actual evidence.
I want to show you guys something. All right, somebody gave this to me as a gift. Okay, I don't know if you're going to be able to see it.
No, your green screen's killing it.
You're disappearing.
Yeah. Oh, no. What it is it's the waveform. It's that exact audio clip. The waveform of that audio clip.
Oh, cool.
With the description sealed in lucite that somebody gave me as a gift.
Oh, wow.
It's really cool. That I've only had in close to 2 decades now doing this. I've only had 3 times where they've mentioned my full name. See, to me, I mean, Einstein couldn't calculate the odds of my full name, first, middle, and last, escaping the sweep of a ghost box and coming through at the exact moment that I was doing a ghost box session. There's not enough numbers to calculate the odds against that happening.
It's a pretty great clip. Let's let the audience hear it. Here you go.
Yeah.
Okay, any other entities that are there that wish to communicate or send a message, do it now, please.
Wow.
I appreciate the compliment, and a lot of times I'll get, like at the end of every session, I say, okay, guys, I'm going to shut down now. I thank them for their communication. I thank my technicians for their assistance. And I say, okay, I'm going to say goodbye now. And I mean, I may have done well over 1,000 ghost box sessions. I mean, it's probably way higher than that, but I'm going to say over 1,000. And every time I say goodbye, there has not been one time I can remember or pinpoint that I haven't gotten a goodbye, a good night. You're great. We love you. Take care. Talk again.
Wow.
Stuff like that. It's always, and they always happen to, and they do compliment you a lot. You see, I attribute that to, well, I hate to sound like I'm tooting my own horn, but I attribute that to my dedication. Like, I do a ghost box session every single day, no matter what's going on. You know what I mean? And yeah, I know.
Chris, can you play that again? I want to hear that one again.
Yeah, here you go.
Yeah, it's good.
Okay, any other entities that are there that wish to communicate or send a message, do it now, please.
That's awesome. That's awesome.
That's cool. That's good.
That was very clear.
There wasn't a lot of white noise in there. What box was that?
Oh, he's muted.
You're muted.
I can't unmute him. You're muted, Bruce.
Yeah. How is he muted?
The mute button probably on the bottom of the screen. It's easy to hit if you're not.
Can't unmute your guest because
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, I don't know what happened. I didn't touch anything.
Wow.
They're messing with me.
It seems like.
Say, let's just mute him.
The box I was using was a TR604. It's a custom-made box. It's just, I don't like, my preference for a ghost box is, a traditional sweeping ghost box is what I like, okay? A traditional linear sweeping ghost box without all bells and whistles. No echo, no reverb, no reverse speech, no, no turbo sweep, no, just a regular traditional sweeping ghost box with a sweep speed adjustment. Because, a lot of people don't realize that the hack boxes they use, the SB7s, SB11s, I won't even get into the apps. I'm not even going to discuss them, but any handheld device, ghost box device, they're not, if it doesn't have a sweep speed adjustment is very important. People don't realize that during a session, conditions and signal fluctuate continuously. So you need that sweep speed adjustment you need to be able to adjust that sweep on the fly according to whatever condition changes happen during the session. So, a box with a sweep speed, if anybody's out there listening and you're serious about this and you've been doing it for a little while and you know it's something that you want to pursue or something that you want to continue to do, look into getting yourself a decent ghost box and one that has sweep speed adjustment, because it's very important. It really is.
So you got another one that says help the new people
with the ghost.
Oh yeah, with the ghost box. Help the new people with the ghost box. That was also a lot of times in a session. I'll ask if there are any entities available that want to answer some tech questions on how to improve the ghost box or the equipment in order for us to get better communication. So I get Frank Sumption constantly. He comes every time I ask for technical advice or whatever. Frank comes through. You know what I mean? And there's a clip there. I think I sent you one of the clips where he says his full name. Frank. It's me, Frank Sumption. Yeah. But the clip that you're going to play, that's the question I asked. Does anybody there have any advice on how to advance the communication?
Cool.
Technology, how to advance the technology. And that's what came through.
All right, here we go. Go ahead, Ron.
What I was going to say is I like when questions have a deeper purpose and meaning too. Sometimes for an establishing, hey, are we connected communication question? How many fingers am I holding up? Where am I sitting? Whatever. That's fine. But if the whole session is like a game of Clue, it's Professor Plum in the conservatory with the candlestick, you're not really with any depth of meaning necessarily. But he's asking for tech questions.
We're not learning anything. We're not learning anything.
Yeah.
That's true.
not furthering our knowledge of what's going on or what to do to make it better, or how we can, establish a better line of communication, or what they need to do to send better communication. You know what I mean? So
go ahead, Tony.
I'm sorry. Go ahead, Ron.
No, sorry. Tony was going to say something too, and I agree. Some of those questions are good. I like to do that to establish that they can see me if they can't hear me. But go ahead, Tony. You were gonna.
No, I was just going to say that, anybody who's been doing this for a number of years knows that there's certain questions that they will answer, and then there's wall limits that they will just stop answering or tell you can't answer that, or things like lottery numbers, things like what's going to happen in the future, things like what caused this or that. There are limits to the questions that they will answer, and then they will shut you down.
That's true. You put that up, because if you go to my Facebook page or my Facebook group, I posted 3 days ago an article that I wrote specifically on that subject. What are they allowed to tell us, or what will they tell us? Right. And it explains, in my experience, how I came to understand why they cannot send certain types of communication, why we don't get prophetic messages, and if we do, 9 times out of 10 they turn out to be false. And I even, through many sessions and communication, learned why we get those false messages, who's sent, why they're sent, how, who's sending them, most likely who's sending them. And a lot of the information I get, a lot of the learning that has gone on over the years, is attributed to my spirit technicians, Mike and Lisa. These two entities have been with me since day one, since the first day. And they attend and oversee every single session I've ever done. And they're always there for me no matter what. Matter of fact, today, I'm sorry, go ahead.
I was going to say that's good. I was going to say that's a great point. And I love what Tony introduced with the fact that there being limitations, some of which there's people who theorize that we're not given certain information because we're not at a point of enlightenment when we're responsible enough to have it, perhaps. Some think it has to do with causality. Even when you look at messages coming through mediums, that if it's prophetic, you will violate causality, like the time traveler paradox, right? You go in the past, you shoot your grandfather, then your dad's not home, hence you don't exist. But and this is why they say that when mediums get messages a lot of times, and even when we get stuff that we have to figure out, if you get the message in the now, but the interpreter or the operator or the medium has to interpret and figure out the message now, then the message isn't coming from the future or about the future. It's being deciphered and determined now, so it does not violate causality. That's a theory of why they'll give us hints and images and stuff, but not don't go to the bank, you're going to get shot kind of a thing. I mean,
that is a big part of the conclusions that I came to from the way it was explained to me from them.
Awesome.
Also,
so let's see what kind of response you got from this clip real quick, Bruce.
I am curious on this one.
Yeah, me too.
If there are any entities available to answer tech questions about the ghost box, can you please let me know that you're there and willing to answer? Yes, I'm listening.
Wow.
So, I mean, yeah, they help people with the ghost box, which, when I asked them, is there anything we could do to further the communication and get better communication? I think their main concern is, having people understand what it's actually about. That will further the quality of and quantity of the communication, the connection that we have, and our mental understanding and our emotional understanding of what we're dealing with, who we're dealing with, how we're dealing with them. And that plays a very big part in the quality and quantity of communication that we receive, that they're able to send us. That our physical energy and their spiritual energy during a live ghost box session actually it connects, and it creates a conduit for them to send us communication, and in turn for them to actually perceive and interpret what we're saying. See, people say, oh yeah, they can hear us. We're talking aloud in a physical voice. They can hear us. No, they can't hear us. They receive communication from us basically the same way we receive it from them, only with a different, I'm going to say device. We use a mechanical, physical device such as a ghost box to have them form and deliver their communication, and we can interpret it with our physical ear. Okay, that's how we need to receive it. They receive our communication through an energy connection. They receive it the same way we do. It's the same frequency delivery. It's the same type of communication. They receive it the same type of way, only not with a physical device. So that energy connection between us is very important for the quality and quantity of communication. And I think that message there, they wanted to stress that, and you could see that they said, please, like in other words, Bruce, please pay attention to what we just said. You know what I mean? Think about it and see how you can apply it, Next.
All right, let's go to the next clip. I had COVID. Tell us about that one, Bruce.
Oh yeah,
my goodness.
I at the end of towards the end of a session, when I'm done with I always do a structured session. I call it a controlled session. I always know what questions I'm going to ask before I start the session, and I usually jot them down because my memory is not what it used to be. And so I jot them down, and once I go through my main criteria for that particular session, towards the end I'll say, Mike, Lisa, if there are any other entities there that wish to send a message, I'll give another 15 seconds for you to do so. Please leave your message now. And this message, I believe, was one that came after that statement. And he said, I had COVID, I died. Now, after you play it and listen to it, I'll explain to you what I think, why he sent that communication.
Huh. All right, here you go.
Any entities that wish to send a message, please send the messages now.
Now, at the end, he said, I'm scared. It was a little bit rough, but it was, it's there. But
I heard that.
Yeah.
Let's listen to it again.
Yeah, play that again.
Yeah.
Any entities that wish to send a message, please send the messages now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's very clear. Yeah,
It's
that's
clear.
very clear.
Yeah.
Now, again, when we were talking about timing and relevance, those 3 bits of, they were different voices. They obviously came from different channels, but the fact is that they all coincided with, I had COVID, I died, I'm scared. The mathematical probability of hitting 2 or 3 words from multiple stations that congruently fit together and make sense, the mathematical probability on that alone is astronomical. Right. Now take the fact that he asked a question and the answer came through with a response that was relevant on top of the fact that they were congruent in their meaning to an answer to his question.
Well, there's even more there in that one too. Is we talk about consciousness all the time, and consciousness holds your emotions. For something to get a response that I'm scared, that means it took its consciousness with it, and it took an emotion too, because it's feeling on where it's at. What's really even more intriguing, I always go to the metaphysical side, is I'm scared. It almost makes you wonder if they don't know they've passed over, or they haven't completely passed over.
Exactly, Chris. And I don't like to say it is scared. Well, it's either he or she. We have to. A lot of people do that. They lose sight of the fact because it's not a tangible individual in front of them that they're talking to, or that they can feel or touch or smell, that they disassociate it from reality. And it is actually reality. They are actually disembodied spirits of human beings, and they do carry across all their memories, all their emotions, their sense of humor, their fears, their wants, their needs, their love. They carry all of that with them when they make their transition. So, that's a very good point you brought up, Chris. A lot of people don't realize that. A lot of people will argue that point because they don't apply they don't equate human feelings to spirit contact. To
Consciousness. Yeah, that's consciousness.
Yeah,
What you say. Absolutely.
Right.
And that's the right word, Ron. And when Bruce was talking about, there's an energy connection, that connection is consciousness. It's the reason why when we're asking a question via EVP, the answer can show up on the recorder before we even finish the sentence.
Exactly.
Because it's not coming from the vocals, it's coming from the consciousness connection. And without consciousness, there is no study of paranormal. If you remove consciousness, you've taken away things, multidimensional research studies, paranormal, UFO. Consciousness is the key to all of it.
I wish I could tell you how many times I get answers to questions I haven't even asked yet. You know what I mean?
It happens all the time. All the time.
And what you were saying before, Tony, a few minutes ago, the way the communication, the way I've come to understand that they form and send the communication is they don't pick and choose full words. Like they won't, like that, just that last clip, I had COVID, I died. They're not waiting to grab the word I, and then the word had, and then the word COVID. What I've come to believe that they do, what's been conveyed to me by them of how they form the communication is the sweep of the box breaks down the radio broadcast into small sound fragments. Given there are, a couple of syllables that'll come through, a couple of full words that'll come through, but those are usually ignored. What they do is they grab the bits and pieces of sound that they need to actually build the word of communication. Like say the word
a popular theory, yes.
Yeah,
absolutely.
They may use, 10 different sound fragments to build that one word COVID. You know what I mean? So that's even more, unbelievable that they can actually form that communication in that split second, in that amount of time it takes them to find the sound fragments, put them together, form the communication, and deliver it. In a matter of, I only give my rule of thumb is during a session, if I ask a question, I allow 10 to 12 seconds for an answer, and then I'll ask my next question. If the communication doesn't come in that 10 to 12 seconds, it's not relevant to my question anymore. You know what I mean? So I can't ask one question, have the box sweep 10, 12 seconds, ask the second question, and then after that next question, get the answer to the previous question, because now it becomes irrelevant. You know what I mean? So,
So
they have to deliver that communication in that amount of time.
Speaking of communication, Bruce, we've got a question from the audience. So Scott Riddick is with Piedmont Paranormal. We've done a couple investigations with them, and we're probably going to be doing more. And they like to do the sensory deprivation. He wants to know what a good ghost box would be to do the audio output suitable for the sensory deprivation sessions.
That's a good question. I have to go back to a regular, traditional, sweeping ghost box. It's the least complicated ghost box, the least complicated type of ghost box. And it, in my opinion, I'm going to say experienced opinion, it delivers the best quality and quantity of communication. It's just a normal, traditional, sweeping ghost box. You cannot go wrong. You don't need all the bells and whistles. See, echo and reverb and stuff like that were added to ghost boxes, that was added for the benefit of the operator, because they want to hear the responses that are coming through sound spooky. You know what I mean? A lot of people will explain to you, well, I use echo in my device and reverb because it lengthens the word. Like if the word is hello, you know, and you get an echo, I'll hear that response of hello 5 times as opposed to once.
Let me point something out, people. When you put the echo in, you also miss the words that follow the first word.
Yeah.
Exactly. Not only that, it's ludicrous if you can't understand the ghost box, if you need an echo to extend and make the communication repetitious, just forget it, man. Just forget it. You know what I mean? Because it's not what you want to do is you want to hear when you use echo and reverb. Also, an entity will send communication in different inflection, different emotional content. You know, I mean, when you heard in that last clip, when he said, "I'm scared," you can hear the undertone of that communication had an emotion of, I'm going to say, like, I don't want to say fear, I want to say sadness and confusion. So if you add echo and reverb to a device and it delivers it repetitiously and it stretches out that communication, you're losing that content, you're losing the inflection, you're losing the emotional content that goes with that word. Just think if we were having this conversation in echo and reverb, it would be virtually impossible for us to converse normally. You know what I mean? So, and it's just it doesn't work for me. I mean, some people swear by it, you know.
So let's look at your next piece of evidence. It's me, Frank. What's that one?
Oh yeah, yes. Again, if there's anybody there that wants to, you know, that can answer any tech questions, that was one of that was the question I asked. And does it just say it's me, Frank?
Well, when we load them up to StreamYard, it cuts the description down. So let's go ahead and listen to it, and then we can go from there.
Okay.
All right, here we go.
Okay, any entities that are available and knowledgeable to answer some technical questions about the ghost box, can you let me know who you are? What's your name? I heard is here now, but I didn't hear a name. Can you give me your name if you're going to answer some tech questions? Frank. Okay, I heard the name's Frank, but that's Frank Sumption. Can you say your name one more time for me so I know it's you? Frank Sumption. Thank you, Frank.
Okay, now that was awesome.
That was good.
That was awesome.
Yeah.
That was clear.
That was kind of like what I described as conversational communication. That's when you have a back and forth interaction for more than 1 or 2 sentences or phrases. Like they'll respond like I asked the initial question, and is anybody there that wants to answer any technical questions? And they said here now. Okay, so that's letting me know that yes, there is an individual there that wants to speak about the technology. So, okay, I heard here now. Can you tell me your name? Frank. Okay, Frank, if that's you. Now I knew it was him. But I need him to validate that. I need him to verify for me that it is him. All I wanted him to do was say Frank again. And he elected to put his full name. You know what I mean? So I would know, that it was definitely him. So, you know, I mean, it's the communication that I'm currently getting, I would say for the past maybe 2 years, has been far and above anything I've ever gotten before. I think my guess is that when you reach a certain plateau, when you've developed enough coinciding energy, enough connection with the other side, enough, you know, and they believe you, they trust you, and they know that your intentions and dedication to what you're doing is pure, they will go out of their way to deliver the best communication that they can, you know? And see, a lot of people say, oh, how come, you know, like, how come we hear it? How come it's like you talking and we don't hear any radio sweep? We just hear the communication and there's no, you know, no sweep sound around it or anything. I get that question all the time. The reason being, I do edit I review my recordings of my sessions because we're only capable of hearing about 20 to 25% of the communication, the bulk of the communication that's sent live. The rest of it, the bulk of it, you have to discover and review the recording. Okay, so I do review every single session in an audio editor. Now, I also recently posted an article about not using audio filters in editing Ghostbox communication sessions, because any audio filter, noise reduction, whatever it is, any audio filter is going to distort the original communication, and it can actually change what it sounds like. It can actually change what you believe it says or what was intended to be said. So no filters at all. The only thing I do is that sweep preceding and following what I believe to be the piece of communication, I lower the volume of, so that the piece of communication that I believe is there stands out, and it's made easier for the listener to hear. It's not altered in any way. It's not changed in any way. It's not moved around. The only thing I do is lower the volume of the preceding couple of seconds of sweep and the following couple of seconds of sweep around that piece of communication. So that's why when you listen to it, you say, well, how come I hear the radio sweep when he's talking? And then all of a sudden, when he stops his question, then the communication comes on, I don't hear any radio sweep anymore. You know what I mean? That's why. And I did a whole video that, with me talking and a whole video explaining every detail and showing it in the video step by step how I edit a Ghostbox session. And it's there for anybody to look at. It's posted on my group. It's posted on my page. It's posted on a number of other paranormal groups. So, if anybody says, that guy's full of shit, he don't get that communication. He's putting that stuff together. He's making that up. It's fake. It's go and look at the editing video, and it'll explain. You'll see how I come to the final audio presentation that I put out there.
Let me jump in for just a second, Bruce.
Chris, before you play the next clip, I just want to say we've got about 4 minutes left before they shut us, before they switch over to their next program on the next network. So I just want to make sure that anybody that was following or listening on the Onyx network, thank you very much. Top of the hour, they will switch over to their next scheduled program, and thank you very much. If you do want to finish the last couple of clips that I think, Chris, you have yet to play, just check out Facebook or YouTube.
Yep.
Yeah, stick with us. We'll roll just a few minutes past the hour, but stick with us. We're almost there. Now, this one, Bruce, we're going to go ahead and play. You're right, Bruce.
Oh, this was, I believe this one, if I'm not mistaken. Now, here's where the Alzheimer's kicks in. If I'm not mistaken, this was a question about negative entities. I was doing a session on to gain information on the negative entities, the lower level entities that come through and lie to us and send bad communication. They curse, profanities, this, that, everything. And this is what I believe this communication pertained to. I might be wrong, but I don't think I am, but I might. But let's listen to it. It'll be self-explanatory.
All right, here we go.
In the article that I wrote, are my theories about negative entities and the ghost box communication, are they correct? Do I have the right idea?
You're right. There's sick energy.
Nice.
They followed it up with their sick energy. Spirits can be bad people, So, you're right, Bruce. There's sick energy. That they're telling me that, there's entities out there. There's energy out there that's not right. It's negative in form and manner. So, you're right. The article that I wrote on it was basically about that. You know what I mean? So they more or less confirmed what I was asking. So
let me play that one again for the audience, because that one is a great example of get a sweeping ghost box that shouldn't be picking up phrases, especially ones that continue as long as this one. This is a really good example. So listen close, turn up the volume real quick. Everybody out there listening, this is a great example of ITC sweeping, picking up something it shouldn't be picking up.
In the article that I wrote, are my theories about negative entities and the ghost box communication, are they correct? Do I have the right idea?
You're right. There's sick energy. Theory and the people.
Yeah.
The reason I wanted to replay that is the odds of a sweeping frequency picking up that big of a phrase over that stretch of time.
Do we have time to explain that real quick?
Yeah, explain it.
Okay. What I've come to understand the way that happens is that, see, the communication as a whole, people think that the communication that is being sent is buried in the sweep signal, is buried in the ghost box sweep that's coming through the speaker. It's not. It's placed ahead of the sweep. It's placed on top of the sweep by them. So you can get a ghost box, you can have the ghost box sweep running continuously. And the communication that you get is I'm not going to say set apart, because you will hear both at the same time, but the communication that we're receiving, especially communication that comes in sentences, will be apparent that it's layered on top of that sweep. It's being delivered separately, but in combination with the sweep, if you can understand what I mean.
Yeah, Chris,
Yeah,
can you play
sometimes
that one more time? I just want to. I'm sorry, Lourdes, go ahead. I just want him to play that one more time.
No, I was just gonna say sometimes it comes on top, and sometimes it seems like it comes underneath. You get those low ones that come underneath. That's what it's like.
Yeah, so you guys all pointed that out. I want the audience to pay really close attention. So it takes a good ear and years of EVP and ITC practice to catch some of this stuff. I mean, even Audra and I aren't that great at it, like Tony and Ron and Bruce. And Cherie Lourdes is fantastic at it. But she's right. It's either on top or it's below. It doesn't sound like it's in the sweep. So pay really close attention to that. Turn the volume up or stick your earphones in.
In the article that I wrote, are my theories about negative entities and the ghost box communication, are they correct? Do I have the right idea?
You're right. There's sick energy. Theory and the people.
Okay, wait, hold on. Wait. I want to know what you hear the first two words. I'm not going to tell you what I'm hearing, and I think Race is hearing it as well. What do you guys hear those first two words?
You're gonna have to play it again. One more time.
Let's play it one more time. For those of you that can't see our producer Race, we can see him down at the bottom, and he's getting chicken skin. His hair's standing up on end. He's freaking out down on the screen. You guys can't see him, but it's hilarious. So let me go ahead and play it again.
In the article that I wrote, are my theories about negative entities and the ghost box communication, are they correct? Do I have the right idea?
You're right. There's sick energy. Theory and the people.
Okay, the second word is kind of cut off, but I am hearing you're correct. Exactly.
Yeah.
And Ray's heard it too. But it is.
It could be.
There.
And I'm gonna have to listen to it again on my, by myself, because that very well could be. And plus, a lot of times, believe it or not, I can pull out a file, make a file out of a ghost box communication like that, and put it away, save it, and go back and listen to it a month later, and it'll be different than I heard it the first time.
So
that
true.
happens all the time.
What?
So wait.
A lot of people will attribute that to audio pareidolia. It's not. They're capable of altering, even stored on your hard drive. They're capable of altering. Yeah, okay.
Absolutely.
That communication. You know what I mean? If they want you to hear, if their intent was different, and they want you're mistaking what they were saying, they can alter it, and they will do it.
Yeah.
So those two words in the beginning when it says you're correct, Bruce, right in the beginning, is that what you was hearing, Tony?
Yeah.
Okay, well,
Yeah.
yeah, I didn't hear that.
I heard what the two viewers.
Oh yeah, I heard that.
I
I thought you was talking about something else.
I heard you're right, Bruce. I
Yeah,
didn't hear
you're right,
I didn't hear
Bruce.
you're correct. I heard you're right.
That would be a
No, I
good
heard
section.
you're right. I
That
don't
would be a
know.
good
Okay.
section to stick in the review software and slow it down to see what it comes out.
Just to give some credence to what Bruce just explained, if it sounds foreign to you about altering your hard drive and it sounds like it's a little too hocus pocusy of a thing to believe in, we had a friend that had an Ovilus and went to a place. She was outside the building and she got a couple of names on the device, and then she showed somebody else, and one of the names was relevant to a child who had lived in that castle. When she went to show them, the word was gone off the list on the Ovilus, but you cannot delete an individual word, and it was replaced with something else.
It was replaced with sign.
The word sign.
It was replaced with the word sign.
Wow.
But it was there. It came out because we saw it. It said Walter.
She recorded the video on her phone. It was Walter, right? It recorded Walter on her phone. She had it was like tree, Walter, shoe, brick, let's say, right? And then she goes to show the friend when she came outside from the other end of the building, and then it said tree, shoe, sign, brick. It was like it swapped the word out in the list, and we're like, how's that even possible?
It replaced it.
If you think about it, though, if you think about consciousness being pure energy, and what does any piece of electronic function on? Energy. They literally should have the ability to manipulate anything electrical.
They do. Yeah. Everything's energy. Everything in the cosmos is energy. Every single thing. Yep. So yeah. So I mean we got this idea, like you were saying before, about materialistic, things being in our physical world. But when you touch a table, it's the negative charged electrons on your epidermis that are repelling you, that you're not going through it for. It's not so because it's solid. The table's probably got more empty space when it's construct than it does anything solid as far as atoms go.
Well, and what you guys were talking about earlier about things changing and disappearing, that doesn't just happen on Ovilus. It doesn't just happen with ITC recordings. We've had it done on digital recorders where I've been reviewing evidence. So when I review evidence, I go through, say, an hour-long, 2-hour-long digital recorder. And when I pick something up or I hear an EVP, I'll cut that section out and I'll save it. And I'll continue to listen, and I'll cut that section out and I'll save it. And then I go back and I review them to make sure I'm hearing what I'm hearing. We've had a couple times where we've had some pretty loud EVPs. One of them was at the hospital, at Phelps Dodge Mining Hospital, where it sounded like somebody yelling. Yeah. And I cut it out and I went, that's a great one. We don't even have to enhance that. That's immense. I went back and listened to the recording. It was nothing.
Yeah. I remember you saying that.
Yeah, and I looked at Audra and I'm like, you heard that too, right? And normally she disagrees with me. That time she actually went, yeah, where the hell did it go?
I'm going to give you an example of what they're capable of. I actually have the file. I have the audio file. Any of you guys want it, just let me know. I'll send it to you. It was in the middle of a session, and I hear all of a sudden, like on top of the sweep, a guitar strumming, like just randomly strumming of a guitar, right? And I say out loud, I said, that sounds like a guitar. And they respond to me, that's right, it is a guitar, and start to strum again. So I mean, they're actually now not only forming, they weren't in that instance only forming words, they were actually picking pieces of harmonics to form what they wanted me to understand to be guitar strumming. You know what I mean? Every time I think that I got it down pat, that I know exactly what they're doing, boom, they surprise me. You know what I mean?
Yeah. That's awesome. That's crazy.
Okay, unfortunately, that was the last clip. Bruce, is there anything you got going on that you want to promote, you want to talk about, you want to get out, you want to share?
Nah. I don't do any investigations. I don't go to events. I don't do any of that stuff. I just dedicate myself to the research and helping others. I try to get as much information that I've learned, as much of and I want everybody to notice, everybody that's listening, I want you guys to know it. Everything that I've stated here tonight is my opinion. I'm not stating it as fact. It's my belief based on my experience with the Ghost Box over many years. So what I'm telling you is what I believe they've taught me. So I'm not trying to push certain aspects and say, okay, this is the end all of it. This is how it works. This is what it is. And you better believe it. Everybody's entitled to interpret it whatever way they want. This is my interpretation based on what I've experienced and learned over the years of doing this. So I just wanted to get that out of the way.
They can also check your Facebook page because you post some of your session on your Facebook page, right?
Well, I post a new video every 2 days. What I'll do is from one of the sessions, like say I do a session on a Monday, I'll review the session on Tuesday, and I'll pick what I feel I want to present publicly for review, and I'll make a short video of it, and I'll post it on YouTube. And that I'll post a link on my Facebook page, and I also have a Facebook group called Live Spirit Ghost Box Communication, Learning and Education.
Awesome.
So, if anybody wants to check that out, you're more than welcome to apply for membership. But, I don't discriminate against anybody. I don't scrutinize people like to the max. If you want to join my group, you're more than welcome to join. If you screw up, you're getting kicked. So,
and that's how Brooklyn does it, people.
That's right.
Yeah.
I think I joined.
So when Ron was talking about the entire cosmos being energy, Sheree turns and looks at me and she goes, "I love Cosmopolitan." I said, "That's not what he said."
They all have an energy all their own. Cosmopolitans have an energy all their own.
That's right.
Right. Cosmopolitan tells her what to pick up when she goes to Sephora.
Are we still on the air? Are we still on the air?
We definitely want to say thank you for the time you took to send us the clips, to take the time tonight to be on the show. This was great. And
thank you guys. I want to thank you guys.
Thank you.
I thought you guys just forgot about, passed over me. I'm sitting here waiting for my invitation to come on the show and say, well, I guess I don't rate that much. They don't.
No, we only do one show a week. I guess we should really do to cover all the fantastic investigators out there and researchers. We would need to do a show every night, and nobody has the time for that.
5 hours long, yeah. If you get guests like me, you better start doing 3-hour shows.
We got to make it a holiday.
All right, guys, are you closing out, or what? Should we say goodbye, or what?
Yeah,
we're getting ready to.
Yeah.
All right, let me know when you're ready.
So important takeaways, by the way, for the audience is just a couple of words that if you listen, I'm going to sound like Chris Allgood for a second. If you paid attention closely,
he did you.
Yeah, he sure did. He repeated words a few times like dedication, like research, review, things that you don't do if you're not actually taking what you do seriously. So, and I admire anybody who stays in it this long and who sticks to their guns. He found a methodology that works for him that he likes, and that's what he does. And I agree with him 100%. You don't have to agree with his method. You don't have to think that's the way you want to do it, but you have to have respect for someone who's done that much, that long, and logged it, because that's the characteristic that anybody who does whatever method or style they do should have. You should have some kind of dedication and focus to what you're doing. So I applaud the years doing it, because you started when it wasn't cool to be doing it.
Right.
And you can have,
there was nobody doing it.
Yeah, and you can have different opinions and still work together, because it's good to have different opinions and work together. There's nothing wrong with that.
But I just stress one more thing. Just let me stress one more thing before we get out of here.
Yeah.
For people out there that are doing ghost box sessions, it's all well and good to do videos on your cell phone of the session you're doing. That's fantastic. But please start a recorder when you do your session. Start a voice recorder, put it to the side, do your video, whatever. But make sure you have that voice recording, because like I said, the bulk of the communication that's actually being delivered, we're not hearing live during the session. Yeah. And if you just watch a video you made on your cell phone, if you review that, you're in actuality just reliving the actual session. You're actually hearing whatever you heard during the live session. You're still missing the bulk of that communication, unless you repetitionally play it over and over and over and over and over to see what you missed. But with that digital, with that voice recording, with that audio recording on its own, if you throw that on your computer, put it up into an audio editor and listen to it in sections, you're going to find communication that you never dreamed was there. So take the time to do that. Take the time, if not to present it as evidence or research, do it for yourself, because they're communicating, they're taking the time and effort to make the connection with you and communicate with you. Give them the same respect and listen to what they have to say. You know what I mean? Don't just throw away 90% of what they say.
That's good advice.
Let me add one more step to that, which I always do after an investigation. Take the video. You've got your audio, you do your audio review. Take the video and convert it to audio and review it that way too.
Boy.
You will pick up stuff on your video audio that you don't pick up on your digital audio, that you don't hear during the ITC session or the SB7 session or the DVR session. You won't pick it up. If you convert that, guys, we keep telling you that what you see on TV is it's the highlight reel. Real investigating comes from review.
That's exactly right.
It takes patience and hours and coffee and energy drinks and other drinks.
Dedication.
Other drinks.
And dedication.
Ron, when is that book coming out, Ron?
Yeah, when's that book coming out, Ron? Plug it real quick before I stay.
I'm glad he said something. I had so it's coming out in March. I've been back and forth with the publishing company a lot now because it's getting close. I don't have an exact release date, but I will certainly tell. So the book, Paranormally Speaking, Knowingly Talking to the Unknown. So it'll be out in March, and the final chapter of the book, I had a bunch of people in ITC who I felt who were dedicated and some of the best in class give me advice for someone who aspires to do ITC. And these people are all, every one of them, in my opinion, really excellent at what they do. And so Bruce Halliday was one of those people. I love that he was so in his lane with ghost box research, where some are multi-pathed in what they do. Some have a specific area that's different than that. So he was kind enough to contribute a section to that part also. And then the extremely talented Mr. Tony Rathman gave me the forward for the book, which was also very nicely done.
Thank you, Ron.
It's got just a who's who of people that I think are so talented. So that'll be out soon. The second book is already more than halfway done, and that one's going to be more ITC intensive. The first one's got a little bit of my backstory, and then it gets into how I got into ITC stuff and direct radio. But the second one's
in other words, half the book is a yawner.
Yeah, oh yeah, all of it. The pop-up book.
Hey, you know what, guys? I think
Paranormal Punch.
You should all get together and do something together, like do an experiment together. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like come up with a criteria for a short experiment, and like Ron is in the DRV, he does it with DRV. Tony, you do it with whatever method you choose. I'll do it with the ghost box. Chris can do it with whatever method he chooses, and see what we'll set up a criteria with the same questions and see what kind of different communication, different answers we get, and what the type of communication would be.
What about the ladies? What can we contribute?
Oh no, usually that's the present company accepted. That goes without saying. A man is nothing without the woman sitting next to him.
There you go.
That is true.
Yeah.
And for all of you watching, that was a back pedal by Bruce.
Right?
All right, guys. Thanks everybody for watching. We appreciate you viewers. If it wasn't for you guys, we wouldn't be doing this. We wouldn't be this insane. We wouldn't be this crazy. We wouldn't be paranormal. And for all of you out there that if you don't want to get carpal tunnel using a ghost box, then you get the one with the speed sweep adjustment, like Bruce said. And most of all, you got to stay haunted. Have a good week, everybody. We'll see you next week.
Nice.
Thank you, guys.
Good
Have a
night.
week, guys.
Thank you.
Can you give me a name? What's your name?